Welcome to the 1871 podcast, and on this episode we'll be chatting about Reading's 6-point deduction and their remaining 7 games. But before that, we have not one but 2 bits of very exciting news for you. The first bit of exciting news is that we're due to be talking to Reading legend Marcus Hahnemann tonight, and assuming that we do speak to Marcus tonight, that episode will be available to watch or listen to anytime after 7 p.m. tomorrow. And if you want to watch any of our episodes, you can watch them on our YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube and search for 1871 podcast and you should find us. And if you've got a smart TV, you can now watch the 1871 podcast on your TV by selecting YouTube on your smart TV and searching for the 1871 podcast. So, and by the way, you can listen to 1871 podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you missed our episode with Ray Houghton, that was really interesting. Really enjoyed speaking to Ray. That's still available to listen to and watch on YouTube. So that's our first bit of exciting news. Our guest on tomorrow's episode is Marcus Hahnemann, assuming that we do speak to him this evening. And that will be available anytime from 7 p.m. tomorrow. And our second bit of exciting news, probably even more exciting than that bit of news, is that we're now joined by another Reading legend because our co-host Dylan Kerr is back. So welcome back, Dylan.
Hi, sorry, I've just been a bit hectic this week, and the timings. Obviously, when it was a 2-hour, when the clocks were 2 hours forward, then I was okay, but. Now we're in a crucial stage of playing our second game in 3 days, and we've got another 5 games after this by the end of the month. So I do apologise to everybody that I'm not. They're probably happy that I'm not on here. But you and Johnny are taking care of it, so that's good. I'm gutted I missed Ray Houghton last night, and Marcus Hahnemann tonight. It's but just the timing is all wrong because of the game situation. But it's good to be back.
Yeah, we will want to talk to you about that, Dylan, and great to have you back. We want to have a quick chat with you about your team, Marumo Gallants. But first, before I do that, I have a question for you. So, including Series 1, how many 1871 podcast episodes do you think we've done in total so far?
As a guess, I would say 22.
22?
Yeah.
Well, we might have done 22 with you, but the total, this is episode 98.
Wow, crikey.
So we did something like, I think 74, which included about 5 episodes on the same day of the Legends game.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But yeah, in total, this includes me and Johnny having a chat sometimes without you.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is episode 98. So tomorrow's episode with Marcus Hahnemann is episode 99. And we're planning something a bit different to celebrate our 100th episode. So that's coming up over the next 2 episodes. Now, before we catch up with Dylan and talk about the current Reading team, it's a triple pat on the back for Johnny this week. Not only is he now even more famous in Berkshire than he was already, even though he's in Ireland. After his appearance on BBC Radio Berkshire yesterday, talking about Reading's 6-point deduction, and we got a nice plug for the 1871 podcast, so it makes it all worthwhile. But he was instrumental in securing Marcus Hahnemann as a guest for tomorrow night's 1871 podcast episode. And that's not all. As things stand, Johnny is the current leader in our Reading FC quiz. Now, we did think he'd managed a very impressive 41 points out of a maximum of 50, but the result has now been verified, and I can reveal that Johnny actually scored 39 points. So I don't know how you managed to get 2 extra points, but anyway, 39 points, Johnny. You are still the leader as things stand. So well done to you.
Thank you.
So anyone listening, anyone watching, can you beat Johnny's score? So if you want to have a go at our quiz, it's still available. Just search for it on the 1871 podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And it's on the same episode as our reaction to the 1-1 draw against Bristol City. Then when you've had a go at the quiz, do let us know your score, mostly because Johnny is keen to find out if he will be holding on to his lead. He didn't in the first quiz. He got pipped by Chris Bennett. So let's see what happens this time. And then we're going to announce our overall winner. So 50 points in the first quiz, 50 points in the second quiz. Add them up. If my maths is correct, 50 plus 50 is 100. So you get your score out of 100, and we'll crown our 1871 podcast quiz champion. So it's time now for a quick catch up with Dylan. And Dylan, all of these managers are getting sacked in the Premier League, but you're certainly proving your worth as a manager in the South African Premier Division. And you won your latest game on Sunday as Marumo Gallants came from 2-0 down to win 3-2 in your final CAF Confederation Cup group game. So congratulations for that. That means you finished top of the group, and you will play against one of the second place teams in the quarterfinals. And I believe the draw for the quarterfinals is taking place tonight. You've got 7 league games left, same as Reading, starting with tonight's game against Royal AM. Now your team must be in confident mood, especially after what you did on Sunday.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It's and well done, Johnny, an hat-trick. But I think you've left the one out that the one player he didn't manage to get. But we'll talk about that later. Sorry, Johnny.
Right.
No, it's yeah. On Sunday, I played a starting 11. Only 9 had not played a single game for Marumo Gallants this year. So we'd already qualified, which was brilliant. But also, we wanted to qualify as group winners, and we did that with basically a team of unknowns. We were 2-0 down at half time. The proverbial prawn sandwich came out, and the boots were flying. And unfortunately, I didn't hit anybody. But second half, they came out and gave a great performance and won the game 3-2, and we topped the group, which is kind of like Wokingham Town winning the championship. That's how I would describe the group, because Usma Algiers are a very, very good team, and to beat them at home and lose a tricky away game was 2 great performances. But now we've got a big game. This is probably the biggest game to either see where we're at for the last 7 games, and it'll be a good judge of the players' character and the players' attitudes, because not only have they rested all week, they've been able to do some training, which we haven't been able to do previously. And so hopefully we will get the valuable 3 points that we need. But the thing is, we brought it to Bloemfontein. Now Bloemfontein from Polokwane is about a 10-hour drive. And the reason we brought it here is because Bloemfontein municipality haven't got a football team. Because Royal AM is owned by a lady called Mama Kesey, and she bought the status. She didn't get promoted 2 years ago with Royal AM, so she decided to buy Bloemfontein Celtic status and relocate the team to Durban, which annoyed and angered a lot of Bloemfontein diehards, because Bloemfontein's got one of the biggest, if not the biggest, support base in South Africa. And the locals love the soccer here. So today there's going to be fireworks off the field, especially if Mama Kesey turns up with her team, because they don't like her, because they've stolen, basically they've stolen her. She's stolen their team and relocated it elsewhere, just to get into the PSL. So it's going to be a very, very great. It's going to be an exciting atmosphere for the players, especially for our players. Because if you look at it, when we play in Polokwane or Rustenburg, we might get 1,000, and we play in the World Cup stadiums of Polokwane and Rustenburg. So imagine 1,000 people when it's a 55,000, 60,000 seater stadium. It doesn't look good. Today we're playing in the Bloemfontein World Cup stadium, and we're expecting maybe 15, 20,000 people here today. So it's going to be a great occasion. I just hope that the players don't get too carried away with the fanfare and everything. Just go out there and get 3 points.
Yeah, well, we wish you well, Dylan. And we're going to be, I'm going to be asking you later. I'm going to talk to Johnny now about the 6-point deduction and and there's 7 games to go. But I want to ask you later about how you've kind of transformed the fortunes of Marumo Gallants and how you can, how Reading might be able to sort of do something similar, hopefully to stay above the relegation zone. But coming to Johnny now, Reading's 6-point deduction was announced yesterday. You were talking about it on BBC Radio Berkshire. Johnny, do you think it's a relief for the club, for the players, for the manager, for the fans that we've finally got that over and done with, and now we know where we stand and we've got 7 games left? Is it a relief, and now we can get on with what we need to do?
Yeah, it's what it is, isn't it? I think we all know it's coming, and it's just a shame. It's just a shame that we've got ourselves into this position again. But that's the club's fault, the EFL, whatever gone on between them and how things have been done financially. That's their business. But again, as usual, the fans are the ones that feel it. It's our club. Whoever's supported Reading for however long, that's a tradition of it. But now we have to be positive, draw a line under the what's gone on. It's what it is. We have 7 cup finals to go. We need to take each game as it is and go for a win. That's where it's at now. We're a point above the bottom 3 or whatever, and there's sides around us that aren't that great. We've talked about Ince and whether he's the right man for the job. We've done that and not convinced, but we have to go right. Well, this is what it is. He has to get on with it. He has to start being positive and getting the results and getting the fans behind the team. Starting, with the Birmingham game, that's huge. It's a big match, and win that, and then you can hopefully start some momentum.
Yeah, so like you said, a point above the relegation zone and a point above Cardiff. So we're not the, we got Cardiff in between Reading and the relegation zone. So Cardiff 39 points, Huddersfield 39 points as well. And like you say, basically we need a win on Friday against Birmingham, don't we?
Yeah. Nothing else will do, to be honest. That's where we're at now. Huddersfield is picking up form. Wigan won the other day. It's going to be like that. It's going to be a week by week. You'll be checking every other team's results and hoping that we're, I think, we said before, looking at roughly 4 points every 3 games is in my head. That's something. And then, the final game. So, if we can get 9 points from 7, maybe that's enough, maybe not, but that'd be realistic, I think.
Well, that form is the sort of form that Huddersfield are showing. So look, let's have a look at how things stand following the points deduction. So that 6-point deduction, it means that obviously hasn't changed any of the other teams. Wigan had their deduction previously. So QPR have 42 points, Rotherham 41, Reading 40, Cardiff 39, and then the bottom 3, Huddersfield 39, Blackpool 35, and Wigan 33. And like you said, Johnny, Huddersfield showing some good form. So I think almost our aim is to stay above Cardiff, and then we'll be safe. I think whatever you said, 4 points from 3 games sounds quite ambitious. If we can do that, we'll definitely be staying up, I'm sure. But look, here's Reading's last 7 games. Birmingham City at home on Friday, Preston away on Monday. So of course 2 games over Easter in the space of a few days. That's going to be huge. And one team could pick up 6 points, one team could lose both games, and it changes the whole picture. So Birmingham at home on Friday, Preston away on Monday, and then home to Burnley. And then home to Luton, who are going very well. Coventry away, Wigan at home, and final game of the season, Huddersfield away on May the 8th. So that could be interesting. So Johnny, you're talking about 4 points from 3 games. So how many points do you think Reading need from the last 7 games to stay up?
I would say 8 or 9, realistically. I think so. I think just because that you can't, everyone's fighting in that league, and the Championship's the most bizarre league, as we know. Huddersfield beat Borough on Saturday. I know they're at home, but nobody would have picked that. And there's going to be games in these last 6 or 7 where you're not, there's going to be results that we're not going to think we could go and lose on Friday to Birmingham and then go and beat Burnley. That's how bizarre the league is. But I think, so looking at 8 or 9 points, if we can get that, you think, well, that's, the teams that are behind us have got to win 4 out of 7, maybe. That's kind of.
You can't. I think you can't count out Blackpool and Wigan at this stage. You can't say, oh, they're definitely going down.
No.
Obviously, they're a little bit adrift. But look, if you take sort of QPR down to Huddersfield, it's 3 points between QPR, Rotherham, Reading, Cardiff, and Huddersfield. So it kind of looks like it might be one of those teams that is going to join Blackpool and Wigan. But like you say, Wigan had a result, although it was against QPR. QPR are, their form's similar to Reading's. Rotherham and Cardiff are struggling as well.
Yeah.
Huddersfield, I think it's the last 3 games a draw and 2 wins. 4-2 against Middlesbrough. So, you wouldn't be surprised if Huddersfield stay up.
Yeah. Well, you got Warnock there. I know, as much as we all love to hate him, he does what he does. And, he's a manager that gets players motivated, and that's huge. That's what you need at that stage.
And they brought Neil Warnock in because he's got a track record. He's come in. Huddersfield are starting to perform, get some good results. And we know someone else who's done that in South Africa, don't we? So, Dylan, coming back to you now, Reading in a bit of a slump. They had a few defeats, and then the last couple of games have been draws. So at least we go into Friday's game unbeaten in 2 games, you could say. You've come into Marumo Gallants. They'd won. You came in when they were bottom of the league back at the end of January. They'd only won 2 games all season, and then all of a sudden you come in, they win 4 games. So you've obviously done something to change their mindset or whatever it might be. What do you think is the key now, Dylan, to staying up for Reading?
Paul Ince has got to get the players to enjoy playing. That's what I've done. I've done it for 4 other teams. This is the 5th one. This one's the hardest one of all because I've only got 10 games where the previous ones have been 15 and 18. So this is the toughest. But Paul knows the issues that he's got to deal with off the field. Right, that's got to go. That's nothing he can control. Now he's got to say to his players every day, right, this is your livelihood. This is the future of Reading Football Club. This is not just about you. It's about the supporters. It's about the chairman. It's about the club. Most of all, it's about the fans. And whatever you do as a football player or as a football coach, if you give your best, if you are trying, then the fans will love you for that. It's when the fans are not stupid. They're not idiots. They've been supporters for a long, long time. They know the past and then they want the future. And getting relegated into League One, the Championship's hard to get out of, but the League One is even harder because of the teams that are in that division. You've got Portsmouth, you've got Ipswich Town, Derby County, you've got all these big former teams that are in League One, and they can't get back into the Championship. So, what Paul's got to do and his assistants, they've got to get around those players and, make them relax, make them not feel, tense about playing these games, and go out and give them confidence to believe in themselves and believe in what they can do.
And Dylan, Johnny's made the point about he doesn't understand why Paul Ince seems to come across as negative. We don't know what he says in the changing room to the players, but after the game, there's this thing about him. He'll blame the ref for a penalty that wasn't given, or he'll say, "Oh well, we had these players missing." And Johnny's view is that he's a bit negative. He sounds like he's sort of making excuses. How important is it, from your perspective as a manager, that you're talking in a positive way to try and give the players a lift? What do you see as the most important factor in terms of how you motivate players as the head coach?
Again, you're fronting the club. You're the one that's in charge. You're the boss. So you've got to give the confidence to the, like I say, the most important people in football, which is the supporters. Fans can see what happens on the pitch. Fans talk about football. So even if you're not at the game, they'll be told by, their friends or family what's happened. You don't need the manager, to go out and talk about, the issues that Paul, has to talk about. Let's talk about the players, who's performing, who's not performing, but don't embarrass them. You've got to let what he should be speaking about the football side of things, not about the referees, not about the decisions. He should be talking about the positives that Reading have been showing, and also he's got to say why they're losing goals, why they're not winning games. Is it the selection? Did he get the substitutes wrong? Did he make the right selection, starting selection? And that's where fans will probably relate more to him rather than looking for excuses and, as Johnny said, being negative, because that's the fans. That's the fans' right to be negative, because they're paying money to watch the game, so they're paying money to watch their team win, and when they don't, they can criticise everybody because it's their right. But from a manager's point of view, you start criticising players, you start criticising officials. Officials will start to say, "Hang on, this guy's having a go at us," and when a decision needs to be made, you may not get that decision. So I understand he's under pressure. I've always said, Paul Ince wears his heart on his sleeve when he plays as a player, and he doesn't want to be a failure at Reading Football Club. He's at a great club, but I can understand the pressure he's under, especially losing these 6 points makes it even harder. But looking at the Bristol City result, he's got to take a positive out of that, because they got a point, which is not an easy place to go down to Bristol. But as Johnny commented about the results now and the teams that are at the bottom two, yes, I probably agree. Wigan, they're going to find it very, very difficult. Blackpool, it's surprising because Blackpool were, up in the top six, I think, at the beginning of the season, like Reading. So
QPR as well. Look what's happened to them. They've been in free fall, haven't they? I could see them dropping into the relegation zone if they're not careful.
Rotherham have been the yo-yo club like Norwich City of the Championship and League One. So Rotherham are no way out of it yet. And like I say, it's this morning in our technical meeting, about the game tonight, I wrote the top from position 9 to position 16. There's 9 points involved, and if we play 4 games in the next 13 days, and if we win those 4 games, which I really, really believe we can do, if we have that little bit of luck on our side, because at the bottom of the league you don't get the luck, you don't get the rub of the green, you don't get the breaks. But if we can win those 4 games, then that's us, finished, and we can do that. My only problem is, in this country, there's the teams that have qualified for the top 8, because it's a top 8 competition. So, the likes of Richards Bay, Amazulu are in 10th at the moment, but they've been up there. Teams that are not going to perform, they're not performing well, and we've played them already, but other teams have got to play them. So I've just got to make sure, as I said to my players, and this is what Paul Ince is probably saying to his players: forget the other teams in the league, forget the ones that are around you. You just concentrate on your job. You just concentrate on you getting 3 points. That's all that matters.
And Dylan, just want to ask you, and sort of going back to the stuff that Johnny's talked about in terms of what Paul Ince says. Paul Ince was asked, I think, after the last game, what he makes of the negativity from the fans. And he kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny, but from what I can remember, he sort of said that he actually quite likes that. And it sort of gives him motivation. As a manager, if you're getting negativity from fans, how do you respond to that, Dylan? What would you do in that scenario?
Well, you just got to have a bit, try and block it out as much as you can, because at the end of the day, you can take the plaudits when you're top of the league, and when you're bottom of the league, you're going to get hammered. It's always the manager's fault. It's never the players. The players are not responsible for the results, even though they're the ones that are kicking the ball. So you have to black that out. And I've never ever been approached in the street, which is very, very lucky, and not one supporter's come and been critical of what I'm doing. In fact, it's the opposite. So that's the pleasing thing from my side. But obviously, when you're on the dugout and you've got the supporters here, if they're not happy with a certain player, they will whistle and they will do this, and the pressure's on the coach then to either keep that player on who they want brought off, or you bring him off and put a substitute on, and they're happy here. But it's, I think, like I say, the negativity in football, you can't do that, because you've got to be positive. And I'll give you an example. We've got an assistant coach that's he's old school. He's a lovely man, and recently he's been very, very negative on the field towards my players, to our players, and it's affected performances. And on Sunday at half time, I had to tell him, listen, stop, berating the players, stop getting on to the players, because it's affecting their performance and it's affecting our results. We were 2-0 down, remember, and then at half time he sat on the bench. He didn't mention anything. He didn't shout at anybody, and players started to play and enjoy themselves, and we won 3-2. So it does get on players. It does get to players. And that's the biggest part of being a coach, is not just being a good manager or a good coach, it's being a good manager of players.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Johnny, come back to you now.
I'm just going to ask Dylan for something very quickly.
Yeah, go on.
Just about, Dylan, you've worked with players. How important is belief and momentum? When you're in a position like Reading, like you've been in, where you're trying to get results, getting that confidence, and you get on a run that takes you, 3 wins or whatever. How do you kind of get that installed into players?
You develop a training session where the players enjoy it. The players come into work, yeah, but there's got to be some enjoyment in it. You don't want players to come to training thinking, oh, it's Monday, we're going to be running. Oh, it's Tuesday, we're going to be doing tactics. Oh, it's Wednesday, we're going to be doing speed work. It's Thursday, we're going to be watching videos. You need the players to go out there and play. They're in a position where they need results. We need results. And to get that momentum, you need to, go into a game being positive. At the end of the day, there's nothing else you can do but try and get the players motivated to win that game.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is prepare right. And one of the things that I've always done, because I always come in mid-season, and I've seen the team dejected. I've seen the team, no team spirit, no camaraderie. I've seen players, asking questions, why are they not playing? And I brought that all together and brought in a kind of a different vibe to training, where they come, they know what they're going to do, they know how they're going to finish, and they go home happy. Yeah. Yes, have the players that are going to complain because, they want game time. Just the other day, I had one player that wanted to be released, and he didn't feel that he was part of the squad. He didn't feel that he was adding anything to him, and he wanted to be released. And I said, no, you're part of this squad. You've got to earn your right to play in my team. Can't just expect to play just because you're a name from 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And you've got to have. And one of the things you've got to have, and it's good that Sly's coming, because Sly's my assistant, not the other. Is my coach. You've got to have a technical bench that's got the same ideology. Yeah. He's the hardest man on them. He's a bad guy. I'm the good guy. They hate his training because he's so demanding, which is what an assistant coach needs to be. Yeah. He has to demand things from people, and we've got a good relationship. So if I can leave him with the players, I know what I'm going to get. And if he has to come here like he has done today, I know, because he's got to sit on the bench, I'm in the stand. I know what I'm going to get from him. I know I'm going to get that same work ethic. I know that I'm going to get that same energy, and he wants the team to win, same as I do. So that's what's probably the most important thing.
So Dylan, you're basically saying that he's Colin Lee and you're Mark McGee, is that right?
Oh, 100%. But at least he smiles. Colin never used to smile.
All right. Well, look, Sly, it's nice to see you on the podcast. So yeah, Dylan, wish you well for tonight and the rest of the season. Just want to sort of expand on what you've both been talking about, that positivity. If you think back to the 106 season, Reading and Steve Coppell's talked about it. and some of the players that we've had on as guests have talked about it. Reading went into those games knowing almost that they were going to win that game. You know, they just knew. And apart from the first game of that season and then one more defeat, you know, they didn't lose any other games. They just went into every game just kind of with that mindset, we know we're going to win today. And you can't say that this season. It's almost like, as fans, you get the feeling, and I don't know what the players are actually thinking, but you get the feeling that Reading are almost going into games with a fear of getting beaten. That's how it seems sometimes. But what I wanted to ask you, Johnny, is we've talked about mindset there. Obviously, if you look at the bottom of the table now, Huddersfield, the form that they're showing, that result against Middlesbrough, you know, they're kind of the form team of those bottom teams.
Yeah. You
mentioned that Wigan won; they beat QPR. For me, I think QPR are in trouble. They're in real danger because since it's Michael Beale, wasn't it, went to Rangers.
Yeah.
Since he left, they've been in free fall.
Yeah,
I can see them in real trouble. Out of those teams in the bottom sort of 6 or 7 positions, Johnny, QPR, Rotherham, Reading, Cardiff, Huddersfield, Blackpool, and Wigan. Who do you think is likely to be safe? Who do you think is probably going to be in the mix at the end of the season for relegation?
I hope we're going to be safe, but realistically, you know, out of all of them, I think, you know, the funny thing is, I'm sure Dylan, like, Neil Warnock's been working with the same players that have been struggling, and he's got them performing. So it's obviously a mindset thing, you know, and it's the same that can happen to any of those teams. It can happen with Reading. There has to be a change of approach, you know, that we set up negatively. Okay, you know, he made some positive subs against City, brought players on earlier, which helped us get a point. And he needs to do that. He needs to be more proactive. I think Wigan will go down. I think Blackpool will go down. Even though Mick McCarthy's there, and again, you know, he's a manager, but they are quite, you know, with the players they've got, we've still got some decent players. You know, that we've you know, you've got Jow as a goal scorer, Mate is a goal scorer, Carroll's a goal scorer. You know, we've got the players. I think I saw a stat where we haven't had a clean sheet this year. Something ridiculous like that, you know, and that's
Watford game since the FA Cup.
Yeah. And you know, looking at the other sides, is who wants it most, who's got the belief. It's so you'd ask me today, and I'll tell you one team. Ask me tomorrow, and I'll tell you another. I think, you know, Rotherham. None of the teams are performing well, apart from Huddersfield. Realistically, you know, so you're kind of going, well, it's almost like start of a new league on Friday, where who wins first is going to, you know, there's a league of what we're talking 7 or 8 teams that realistically could go down. So you're looking at that as a new league, and you're going, right, Reading are currently 4th in that league, and you're trying to avoid the bottom 3. So if you look at that as a mindset and going, right, well, they've got games that are winnable, in my opinion. You know, any game's winnable in the Championship because you can't pick it. You cannot pick any game, go, oh, that's a definite. Even like, you know, a team like Burnley, where we could possibly stop them getting 106 points, which is a good motivation, you know, for that game if you need it. Cardiff have got a game in hand. That replay game that they had from the one that was washed out.
What, Johnny, just to interrupt there, obviously, if you're at the top of the table and you've got a game in hand, it means something, but you're at the bottom because you're not winning games. So, do you know what I mean? The game in hand, yes, if Huddersfield have got a game in hand, you'd think, well, they're in good form. But, I mean, if you know, that mini league that you talked about, this is such a big weekend because there's 6 points up for grabs.
Yeah.
And there's 3, you know, if you look at, so it's like the mini league of 7 teams. So QPR 42, Rotherham 41, Reading 40, Cardiff 39, Huddersfield 39. There's 3 points between those 5 teams. Yeah. So Huddersfield could be, you know, come the end of play on Monday, Huddersfield could be at the top of that mini relegation league. So look, let's leave it there.
Johnny, 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 you hit the nail on the head there. Leeds United, Notts Forest. Who wanted it more last night?
Yeah.
Leeds United.
Yeah.
They won it. They won
Yeah.
it. That's all that's all the fans want to see. Do Reading Football Club want it more than the opposition? That's exactly how it works.
Yeah.
You know, I watched that. I mean, everybody probably watched Chelsea Liverpool last night. I watched Leeds and Forest, not because of my allegiances to Leeds, but I wanted to watch how two teams in the bottom three were gonna perform. And you know, the Leeds were fantastic. I thought Leeds were absolutely fantastic. Basically, because they wanted it more.
Yeah,
that's what it were. You know, they defended very, very well. They didn't allow Forest to get into momentum of how they played. And when Leeds had chances to attack, they did. And they're now, I think, we've gone to 13th.
Yeah, isn't that about leaders though, Dylan, on the pitch? You know, you go a goal down. You can't do everything as a coach. You need the guys on the pitch to stand up, don't you, and go, right, lads.
That's what I'm saying. It's who wants it more. Your players are the ones that want it more, and you know that's all you want. That's all you want. That's all I want from my players. As I said to them this morning, you know, it's the ones that want to die for 3 points.
Yeah,
will get those 3 points. You know, and that's it. There's no motivation needed. It's like, guys, no, we're in the shit. Let's get out of it. This is how we're going to do it. It's up to you. You know, I've done my job. I've prepared right. I've made sure that you've recovered right. I've made sure that you've rested right. I've made sure that we've travelled here 2 days before, so we don't, you know, feel tired. You know, if we travelled the day before. So now it's up to you guys, and that's all you got to do. You've just got to say, right, go for it.
Yeah. Well, Dylan, good luck for tonight, for the rest of the season. Obviously, we'll catch up with you again soon. So that's it for tonight's episode. We're going to catch up after Easter when the picture will probably look a bit different. Who knows what's going to happen over the next 2 games. So just a reminder, Reading home to Birmingham on Friday, and then Preston away on Monday. And then after that is Burnley. So that's it for tonight's episode. Don't forget, our episode with Ray Houghton is still available to listen to or to watch on YouTube on the 1871 podcast. And join us for episode 99 tomorrow night, anytime from 7 p.m. onwards, when our special guest will be the Royals 106 legend, Marcus Hahnemann.